If you take any class on leadership, if you take a class in high school or college, most likely you will come across the name of Simon Sinek or Simon Sinek. They pronounce his last name in a different way. And so Simon is a young motivational speaker. He has written books on leadership, and he went to Harvard, and then he dropped out after 1 year because he wanted to do something else. And he is well known for saying that he insists that as human beings, he says, you have to know your why. What does he mean by this? He says that when we know our why, that gives us a purpose in life. It makes our lives meaningful. For example, when we ask ourselves, why do I do the things that I do? If we don't have the clarity, then we will be confused about why we do the things that we do. You see, if we read in the Gospels, we know that Jesus knew his why. He knew it right from the beginning. Because when he was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, the enemy wanted to distract him from his why. What was his why? What was Jesus' why? His why was he came, his purpose, his mission was to come to earth to show us the love of God the Father, but also to go to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem meant that was going to be the place where he was going to die on the cross to rescue us from death and sin. That was his why. So that's why he knew that that was his goal. No matter what, he had to go to Jerusalem. And remember in the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, when the enemy came to tempt Jesus, what were the temptations? All three temptations were trying to distract Jesus to get to his destiny, to Jerusalem. The enemy said, if you worship me, I will give you power. Make yourself famous so that people can follow you. And remember that time when Jesus multiplied the loaves. People were so happy that he had performed the miracle of multiplying bread, and people wanted to make him a king by force, and Jesus had to flee. He had to escape because he knew that that was not part of it. That was a distraction for him. So we have to know our why. If you are thinking, maybe you're considering that you will go to college soon, you have to decide about your major. You have to think, why do I want to major in this area? Because if we don't have the clarity, we will not persevere. And what we want, all of us as human beings, what we want is meaning and purpose. I remember when I was in the seminary, there were many men starting to become priests, but some of them were there because their mother wanted them to be there, or my grandmother wants me to be here. That is not sustainable. We have to know why. I remember when I felt that God was calling me to become a priest, I knew that it was going to be very challenging. I knew that in order for me to become a priest, I had to go to college 8 years. And when I was in college for those 8 years, it was very challenging in so many different ways. For weeks, months, the stress level was so high that I could not rest at night. In the mornings, I got out of bed. I had to go to the chapel to study and to do what I had to do. And when I got out of bed, I remember telling myself this in my mind: why am I here? I'm here because I want to become a priest. I knew my why. Without it, I wouldn't have persevered. I would not be here. So we have to pray for that clarity. So we have to pray so that we know what our destiny is, what our mission is, so that we can accomplish our goals. And there are so many voices out there that will try to pull us away from our destiny. And what is our destiny? What is our mission here in life? In this life is to know God, to love Him, to serve Him, so that one day we can be with Him in eternity. That is our final goal in this life. If you ask young people, if you ask them this question, okay, what would you like to get out of life? Not everybody, but most will tell you, I want to be famous, I want to be wealthy. And then what? And then what? When you accomplish things and you achieve whatever you want, and then what? And then what? Because again, what we want is meaning, purpose, and to know, to have the clarity, to know that our destiny is heaven. When we know our why, that will motivate us to make the right decisions. And you know, I'm always learning. I think I mentioned to you that I had the privilege of working with the Missionaries of Charity for 2 years. I helped them in their discernment process. I went to her confessions. And I learned something very important about them, because one time, I remember I was talking to one of the sisters, and I invited her, sister, could you come to give a talk in our parish? And she told me, no, Father, because that is not what we do. They have the clarity about their mission, that their mission is to pray and to care for the poor. You see, when we know our mission, we say no to the things that are not in alignment with what our mission is. So let us pray so that we, like Jesus, can have the answer to our why, to have a why statement in life. Why do we do what we do? Why do we make the choices that we make? Because whether we think about it or not, all our choices are supposed to help us so that we can get to that final goal, which is eternity.